Morning, everyone. You're able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just give me a minute time. I'm just bringing few documents. Yes. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you're able to see. So, our today's topic of discussion is going to be collisions. Okay. So let's first, even before we start discussing, can you people tell me what is your view on this term collision? So topic is yeah, you can start speaking. So the topic that we are going to see is called as collisions. Right? What exactly do you mean by the term collision? Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then speak out. What does collisions mean? According to you, can tell your own perspective. Need not be in terms of physics also. So what exactly
Collision
does
is
collision?
when
The
two
intersection of two objects or two or more objects.
You cannot use the word intersection. The intersection means you are cutting one object and placing it into another. Okay. So what
when
is
two
it?
objects
What do you mean?
hit each other, it's called a collision.
When
So can
two
you give me
objects
some
collide.
okay, to collide in the sense we need to know. No collision again. You're using the word collide. We need to understand. No? So can you give me some examples? Someone told me that two objects hit each other. We call it as collision. Okay, that's fine. So can you give me some real-time examples that you have seen in your life? You see it on a day-to-day basis.
Accidents, sir.
No, we need not go till accidents. A simple thing. Let's say we talk about cricket. So in cricket, is there a question of collision that is taking place?
Yes, sir.
Where is it happening?
Ball and bat.
So there is something between ball and bat. Is there anything else?
The
Like when a fielder
day-to-day
throws
life we can say about brushing.
brushing, you cannot like you're just bringing contact. No, here you have to speak in terms of speed and all those parameters. You can see these are all the things you would have seen. Like you play carom.
Hammer, sir. Hammer, nail.
You take a hammer, and hit a nail with a hammer. That is a collision, right? So these are all the terms. These are all some examples that we have already seen, and we have experienced it also, right? There's what is meant by collision. Now, another important question to be answered here is: you told me that two physical objects coming in contact with each other. Is it necessary that physical contact is established for us to define collision in terms of physics? That is the point we are going to answer now. So remember, when we talk about collision in terms of physics, I'm talking about. When you talk about collision in terms of physics, we are mainly concerned about how certain physical parameters are changing, how certain physical quantities are changing. In the sense, we see how linear momentum of an object is going to change with respect to time. And we are going to see how the kinetic energy of the object is going to change with time. So if based on these parameters, a collision in physics has a specific definition. Okay, let's see what it means. A collision is an isolated event, okay, in which two or more colliding bodies exert relatively stronger forces on each other for a relatively shorter amount of time. Okay, so why I was speaking about physical contact is because in physics, actual physical contact between two bodies is not necessary for collision. The best example that we can think for it is, you remember Rutherford's experiment? So who found nucleus for the first time? Who discovered nucleus actually? So when you have alpha particles, right, what was the experiment performed by Rutherford?
Used
The alpha,
gold foil.
when the alpha particles were traveling towards the gold foil, what happened? What were the observations he did? He could found.
Some particles were deflected while some didn't deflect.
Some particles were deflected and some particles got
retraced its
transmitted.
path.
Right. So that's what has happened. When this deflection process did take place, did these alpha particles actually go and hit the nucleus?
No, sir.
They actually didn't hit it. Right. Why did that happen? It is because alpha particles are positive in nature and there existed some central part which was later called as nucleus. Right. So it is also positively charged because of the protons. So the alpha particles got deviated. But if you ask me if this is an example of collision in terms of physics, yes, it is a collision because what is happening? There is a change in momentum taking place for the alpha particles, right? When there is a change in momentum by time, what is this called as? What is change in momentum with respect to time called as? Force, according to Newton's second law. And what is the definition of collision saying? Collision says that there is a force that is necessary to be exerted between the particles. Are you able to understand this? So for the force to get exerted, what is mandatory? Change in momentum with respect to time is mandatory. Physical contact is not mandatory. That is why the example for it is given here. For example, an alpha particle speeding towards the nucleus of an atom gets deflected by the electrostatic force of reflection without actual physical contact with the nucleus. Thus, the alpha particle is said to have undergone collision with whom? With the nucleus. Are you able to visualize all these things? I hope you understood what is the I hope you understood what is the definition of collision. Right? Now we
Sir,
are going
can
to
you
discuss which one?
the definitions?
Definition is here, no, you can make a note of it. It's an isolated event in which two or more colliding objects exert relatively strong forces. Forces means change in momentum with respect to time. Stronger forces on each other for a relatively shorter time. Okay, that is the definition. Nobody will ask you the exact definition at all, okay? You need to understand it. So what we are going to do here is, the major objective of the study of collision is to find out as much as possible about the forces that act during a collision from the knowledge of the state of particles before and after collision. In fact, all our understanding of the subatomic world, electrons, protons, neutrons, muons, quarks, everything comes from the experiments which involve collision. Okay, this is the basic introduction. Now, what we are going to do in this chapter is, we are going to see what are the types of collision. Okay, so we are going to see what are the types of collision. Types of collision means classification, right? So you're classifying something. Classification. Remember, whenever you need to classify something, you need to have a differentiating factor, right? So based on certain parameters, the collisions are classified into two types. One is called as elastic and the second is called as inelastic collision. So based on what the classification is done, that we are going to see. Okay. Before that, two key rules for collision are conservation of linear momentum and conservation of energy. What do you mean by conservation of linear momentum? When net force, you're not still read.
The net force acting on it must be 0.
If the net force acting on the system is 0, then what is said to be conserved?
Linear momentum.
The linear momentum is said to be conserved. So that's what we call it as law of conservation of linear momentum. And what does it mean by law of conservation of energy? This we saw in this chapter only: energy, work, energy, and power. When the system is subjected to conservative forces, the total mechanical energy of the system is said to be conserved. That is law of conservation of energy. These two are the important laws we are going to use in the case of collisions. So based on which one is conserved and which one is not conserved only, the collisions are broadly classified into two types: elastic and inelastic collision. So write it down. We can say a collision is elastic in nature. So this elastic, don't get confused with the elasticity of the material. Okay. Here the collision itself is named as an elastic collision. So a collision is said to be elastic. So you can say a particular collision is elastic in which there is absolutely no loss of kinetic energy. Okay, here we spoke about law of conservation of energy. No, our main concentration will be on the energy, that is kinetic energy. And I'll tell you what is the logic behind it also, because when you deal with particles which are undergoing collision, the particle should have mass m. Okay, the particle should have some mass, and for the particles to undergo collision, at least one of them should have velocity. So what are all the physical quantities that we can define which involves mass and velocity? If I multiply mass and velocity, what is that physical quantity called as?
Momentum.
Linear momentum. Use the word linear momentum. Okay. Similarly, if I write it as half mu square, what is it related to?
Kinetic energy.
Kinetic energy.
That is why if you see, both the laws are involving linear momentum or energy, especially kinetic energy. It is only because of these two factors. Okay. One important point is, in both the types of collision, momentum is conserved. In both collisions, momentum is conserved. Write it down. So types of collision, write down: elastic collision and inelastic collision. Now we will see what is meant by elastic collision. So in elastic collision, what is not conserved? Sorry, what is conserved?
Kinetic energy.
Kinetic energy.
Momentum is conserved and kinetic energy is conserved. So write down. If in a collision, both linear momentum and kinetic energy are conserved, if in a collision, both linear momentum and kinetic energy are conserved, comma, collision is said to be elastic in nature. Okay. Next. So write down the basic characteristics of elastic collision. Linear momentum, total energy of the system is conserved. The kinetic energy is also conserved. Okay. And last point is, the forces involved during elastic collisions must be conservative in nature. Write down this point also. So if there is a particular system in which elastic collision is taking place, in that system, what should be present? Conservative forces should be present. Okay. So what will inelastic collision be? It will exactly be the opposite of other. That is, a collision in which there is some loss of kinetic energy. A collision in which there is some loss of kinetic energy is what is called as inelastic collision. So generally, that loss of kinetic energy will be produced in some form like heat or sound. For example, see, I've taken a remote in my hand. Listen to me carefully, okay? Though you need not see it. I've taken a remote. I'm hitting on my hand. You're able to hear something?
Yes, sir.
So what exactly is happening is, my hand and the remote are actually undergoing collision, and there is some loss of energy which is actually getting converted to what form of energy?
Sound energy.
The sound energy that you heard. So that is an example of what?
Inelastic collision.
Inelastic collision. If you see, every collision in this world is going to be inelastic only, because producing an elastic collision is highly impossible. But elastic collision we are going to read only for theoretical purpose. Okay, though all the derivations we are going to do will be mainly concentrated on elastic collisions, we need to understand one fact, that in this world, everything is going to be inelastic collision. Then, the basic characteristics of inelastic collision are: the linear momentum is conserved. I told you in both the cases, linear momentum is conserved. The total energy is conserved. Kinetic energy is not conserved. Obviously, only a part of kinetic energy is converted into some form of energy. Okay. So for us, the important points are: the linear momentum is conserved and the kinetic energy is not conserved. So for this kind of a loss to take place, at least few forces that are getting involved in the inelastic collision must be non-conservative in nature. You're able to understand this point?
So, sir, I have a doubt. Inelastic collision can also occur. That means like one conservative and non-conservative force also.
Yes, it can.
Then, like,
It can. It can.
okay, sir.
But at least one of the forces should be non-conservative in nature.
Okay.
Let's say there are 5 forces acting. Not all the 5 forces can be conservative for inelastic collision to take place. At least one should be non-conservative. That is the meaning. Okay, I hope you understood all these points. Based on this, what we are going to see is, we are going to see the concept of elastic collision in one dimension. This type of a collision is actually called as head-on collision also. Okay, so please write it down. Write down the heading as elastic collision in one dimension. So what are all conserved in elastic collision?
Linear momentum, kinetic energy.
And kinetic energy. Both are conserved, right? So we are going to use the mathematical expressions to derive the expression. So derive the final velocities. Let me explain what exactly is going to happen. Let's say there is an object of mass m1 which is moving with initial velocity u1. There is another mass m2 which is moving with a linear velocity u2. Okay, so this is before collision. You're able to understand this? So this is happening before collision. So if these two objects which are moving in the same direction along the same straight line, okay, for them to collide, what is the necessary relation between U1 and U2?
U1 must be greater than U2.
U1 must be greater than U2. It is then it can go and strike. Okay. So during the time of collision, what will happen is M1 and M2 will be in contact with each other. Then M1 will try to exert a force in the rightward direction, which is a force exerted by 1 on 2, and M2 will exert a force which is F21. So what is happening to the total force? What will be the relation between F12 and F21? F12 will be equal to F21 in terms of magnitude. Hence, what will be the net force acting on the system?
Zero.
So during collision, you can say that the net force is 0. So when the net force is 0, what will happen to the linear momentum?
It will also be 0.
It is conserved. That is what the statement says. No, don't get confused. When an external force acting on the system is 0, linear momentum is said to be conserved. So since net force is 0,
Sir, can I say why F2 is equal to F21, sir?
because it is going to exert equal amount of force, no, you are going to take it as rigid objects. So
Sir,
during the time,
Sir, but their weight is not same, no, sir.
it need not be. Need not be.
Okay, sir.
Weight is acting vertically downwards. What does it have to do with the horizontal direction? Linear momentum is said to be conserved. So what will happen after collision is, see, there are many scenarios possible. Maybe if this is a heavier mass, M1 can come to rest and M2 might start flying away. Anything can happen, right? But here, what is it we have taken? We have taken one-dimensional collision. The meaning of it is, before collision and after collision, the objects are moving only along the same dimension. That is, if initially the objects are moving along x direction, finally also they will move along the x direction. So when this is happening, will the velocities still be the same? Will they still be U1 and here also U1? Will there still be U1?
No, sir.
So it will be something else, V1 and V2. I am still assuming that they are moving in the same direction even after collision. So for them to not collide again, what should be the condition between V1 and V2?
V1 should be equal to V2, otherwise V1 should be less than V2.
Yes. So it can be less than or equal to V2. Okay. So this is what is going to happen. This is after collision. I hope this diagram is clear, right? So in this place, I have given you the justification for why linear momentum is conserved also. Am I clear with this? Now see, the derivation starts. It's a slightly lengthy derivation, concentrate. Okay. Now the question is, what is the linear momentum before collision? What is the linear momentum before collision? Tell me. How many objects are there?
2 objects.
So how many linear momenta will be present?
2 linear moments.
So what are they? M1, U1 and M2, U2. Will they get added or subtracted? They get added because of what reason?
They move in the same direction.
Exactly. That's right. So when they are moving in the same direction, they will have the same sign. So before collision, M1, U1 plus M2, U2 is the total linear momentum. After collision,
M1 V1
M1 V1 plus M2 V2.
M1 V1 plus M2 V2, because what have we assumed? We have assumed that even after collision, they are moving in the same direction. Correct? So it is 2. So for conservation of linear momentum, what can I write? It's not for. From conservation of linear momentum, what can I write? M1 U1 plus M2 U2 is equal to M1 V1 plus M2 V2. Accepted? So from this, what I will do is M1 into V1 minus U1 is equal to M2 into U2 minus V2. I have rearranged the equation. M1 into V1 minus U1, M2 into U2 minus V2. Okay, wow. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now see. Kinetic energy before collision. So what is the kinetic energy before collision? Half. Tell me, no?
half M1 U1
Half M1
U1
U1 square.
plus.
half M2 U2 square.
Yes, that's right. So half M2 U2 square. What is the kinetic energy after collision? Right. So from conservation of kinetic energy, what can I write? Half M1 U1 square plus half M2 U2 square is equal to half M1 V1 square plus half M2 V2 square. Correct? So what will get cancelled? Half is gone. So M1 into V1 square minus U1 square is equal to M2 into U2 square minus V2 square. Accepted?
Yes.
So M1 into V1 minus U1 into V1 plus U1 is equal to M2 into U2 minus V2 into U2 plus V2. Let this be equation number 4. So I would suggest you guys to copy it along with me because it's a very, very lengthy derivation. Please copy it along with me. Tell me where should I show it from. Is this page okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, write it. Let me know once you're done. Shall I proceed?
So 1 second.
Yeah, right.
Yes, sir. Done.
So I'm going to divide the fourth equation with the third equation. So when I do that, I get M1 into V1 minus U1 into V1 plus U1 is equal to M2 into U2 minus V2 into U2 plus V2, the whole divided by M1 into V1 minus U1, the whole divided by M2 into U2 minus V2. Correct? So what will get cancelled? This and this are gone. This and this are gone. Now you will have V1 plus U1 is equal to U2 plus V2. Accepted? Which implies V1 minus V2 is equal to U2 minus U1. Wait. U2 minus or U1 minus U1 minus U2 is equal to V2 minus V1. Okay. See, this is what is called as relative velocity of approach is equal to, this is what is called as relative velocity of separation. So we call this as relative velocity of approach is equal to the relative velocity of separation. I hope it is clear. So why I'm not calling it as velocity is because it is a difference. Difference always means relative. So it's called as relative velocity of approach. The meaning of it is these were the relative velocities that were existing between the masses before collision. That is why we are using the word approach. So V2 minus V1 is the difference in the velocity that is existing between the particles after collision. That is after they have got separated. That is why we call it as relative velocity of separation. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So let me call this as equation number 5. Now what I can do is, if I write V2 minus V1 divided by U1 minus U2, what will be the answer? Mathematically, what is it?
1.
So this V2 minus V1 divided by U1 minus U2 is taken as 1. And this is what is called as the coefficient of restitution. This is what we call it as coefficient of restitution.
So,
Tell me.
what is restitution, sir?
So it has something to do with collision. It is called as elasticity of collision. See, generally restitution means how much it is able to restore itself. So generally what is expected after collision? After something is getting collided, we will see how the system is able to reform itself. That's what. So it's a slightly complicated word. Okay. The other name for this coefficient of restitution is called as elasticity of collision. So you know what is elasticity, right? Elasticity means the extent to which an object can restore itself. In a similar way, here we are trying to understand how exactly the system is trying to restore itself. When I say system, it is a two-particle system. There are two masses present in the system. So how they are able to restore themselves after collision.
So we can write it. We can hear me.
Sorry?
Hear me, sir.
Yeah, I'm able to. Your voice is breaking a lot.
So we can.
Okay.
Sir.
Can you message the chat box?
Sir, I did.
We can write it as del B by del U. Yes, we can write it. but it is actually exactly not the change in velocity by change in final velocity by change in initial velocity. Right? See, del B divided by, you can write it as maybe minus del U if you want to write it. But that's not the way books represent. So if you write it like that, unnecessary confusion for the person who's correcting the paper. Okay. So I'm just going with the book definition. This elasticity of collision is also not given in the textbook. So don't use this word. This I've used only for you guys to understand. So in the textbook, it is only mentioned as coefficient of restitution. And the definition of coefficient of restitution is like this. Write it down. The definition of coefficient of restitution is, it is the ratio of relative velocity of separation to the relative velocity of approach. Okay, and it is represented by the symbol E. So that's what I've written here. Then listen, if E is equal to 1, it is called as elastic collision. If E is equal to 0, it is called as perfectly inelastic collision. All these things we'll see later. If E is less than 1, it is simply called as inelastic collision. So have these points in your mind. E is equal to 1, it is elastic collision. E is equal to 0, it is perfectly inelastic collision. E is less than 1, it is simply called as inelastic collision. So till here, is it clear?
Yes.
Write it down. So I hope you are copying. So shall I proceed? Okay. You can put all these things in a box. So when they ask you this derivation, this extra information is not needed. So suppose they ask you in the exam, derive the final velocities of objects which undergo elastic collision. Then this is not needed. You can continue from the fifth step. Right. So can someone read out the third step? The third step will be m1 into v1 minus u1 is equal to m2 into u2 minus v2. Correct? So what did I say is the objective of this derivation? To derive the final velocities of both the objects after collision. Okay. So here you have two unknowns, v1 and v2. So what we will do is, from this we will try to derive from the expression phi, we will try to write v2 in terms of v1. So from phi, what can I write? u1 minus u2 is equal to v2 minus v1. Then what is v2? u1 minus u2 plus v1. So take this and substitute it in this expression. Then what will you get? m1 into v1 minus u1 is equal to m2 into u2 minus, in the place of v2 I can write it as u1 minus u2 plus v1. Okay. So m1 into v1 minus u1 is equal to m2 u2 minus m2 u1 plus m2 u2 minus m2 v1. Okay, so collect all the v1 terms. So m1 v1 plus, this will also come to the other side, m2 v1 is equal to m2 u2, and m2 u2 will get cancelled, that is minus m2 u1 and plus m1 u1.
Sir, how sir M2 U2?
It is u2.
Cancelled, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, how M2
So there-
U2?
sorry, wait. m2 u2 to u1, then you have m2 u2. Now it is right. So minus, wait, I write this step again. That is 2 m2 u2 minus m2 u1 plus m1 u1. Okay. So what is common on left hand side? It is v1. So m1 plus m2 into v1 is equal to, you take this expression, it is m1 minus m2 into u1 plus 2 times m2 u2. v1 is equal to m1 minus m2 by m1 plus m2 into u1 plus 2m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into u2.
M is mass, sir.
Sorry?
M is mass, sir. Mass.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, it is mass of the object. So the final velocity of the object will be m1 minus m. Final velocity of which object? This is the final velocity of the first object. Similarly, we'll be calculating the final velocity of the second object also. Okay. So how do we calculate the final velocity of second object? Again, from the fifth equation, we know that u1 minus u2 is equal to v2 minus v1. Right? So which implies v1 is how much? v2
V2 plus U2 minus
u1
U1.
plus u2. Right? So use in equation number 3, what do we get? m1 into v1 minus u1. In the place of v1, v2 minus u1 plus u2 minus u1 is equal to m2 into, what do you have? u2 minus v2. So what will you get? This will be m1 v2 minus m1 u1 plus m1 u2 minus m1 u1 is equal to m2 u2 minus m2 v2. So collect all the v2 terms. v2 into m1 plus m2 is equal to, take all the terms to the right hand side. That will be m1 u1 minus m1 u2 plus m1 u1 plus m2 u2. Okay. So m1 u1 plus m1 u1 will be 2 times m1 u1 minus u2 into m1 minus m2, or I can write it as plus u2 into m2 minus m1. This is m1 plus m2 into v2. Are you able to understand this? So v2 will be equal to 2m1 divided by m1 plus m2 into u1 plus m2 minus m1 divided by m1 plus m2 into. So this is going to be the final velocity of the object after collision. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir.
You can expect this derivation in the exam. So after this, there are some special cases. Before I proceed to the special case, I want you all to go through this derivation again. So I will explain the special cases tomorrow and vertical circular motion. So these two concepts will finish it tomorrow. Then this chapter will be over. Okay, any other doubts from today's class?
So this whole thing is the derivation for linear momentum before collision.
No. This whole thing is a derivation for elastic collision in one dimension. This is what they ask. Derive the, so there is a, if you want to see the question, that is how they'll frame it. Derive expression for final velocities of objects undergoing elastic collision in how many dimensions?
Dimension.
In one dimension, or they will use the word like objects undergoing head-on collision. They can use this word also. So this is how they will ask. So when they ask you to derive the expression for final velocities, then after doing all these steps, this expression and this expression is expected.
Okay.
I hope you are able to understand. Okay. So there is a very, very important one. I suggest you all to practice it again. Okay. So any other doubt?
No,
Okay. Just give me a minute. Don't wait, log off, wait.